Why the Umbrella Academy Season 3 was the worst. The Umbrella Academy is a show that offers something different to many other TV shows out there. Its tongue-in-cheek humor, relationship-orientated story, glossy and easy on the eye looking nature of the show is something I've grown to enjoy over the past few years, and I'm a huge fan of it. Despite Season 3 not being bad, I felt it just wasn't what we've come to know, enjoy, and expect in the Umbrella Academy. So I thought I'd express the main reasons as to why I feel this season just wasn't up to scratch. So let's get into it. Here is why the Umbrella Academy Season 3 was the worst. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. In Season 3 of the Umbrella Academy, we saw the group re-enter the appropriate year following the events of Season 2. However, they were on a completely different timeline. A timeline where we saw the Sparrow Academy being the main choice of individuals for Hargreeves. We saw the two group of siblings battle it out, get defeated, some teamed up, and then a Kugelblitz started consuming the universe as we knew it. There was a lot at stake and the ante was upped significantly. However, we saw twists and turns that ultimately didn't lead to much, and we saw the universe be reset with a bit of a twist. I'm going to break down each individual point that I feel contributed to the lack of Season 3 landing, so it's easier to discuss. Allison's changing character. Throughout Season 3 of the show, we saw a completely different side to the character Allison. In this season, she came across as quite a selfish individual, who thought nothing of her siblings, was prepared to conspire against them, and was only really looking out for her best interest. We saw her murder Harlan, which I feel felt quite out of character for her. We also saw her use her powers in an extremely manipulative and controlling way against Luther, and this just didn't seem like the character that we'd come to learn about and understand over the past two seasons prior to the latest installment. She previously only really used her powers for good, especially considering she lost her voice and was powerless for a long while. She cared for her siblings and was always looking out for them. Whereas in this season, it felt like it changed abruptly, and all she wanted was her daughter and husband from the 60s in Season 2. I didn't really feel like her intentions and motives were ironed out and the foundations were laid to us in the right way, for the character to take on that change of mindset in a natural way. Her hatred for Victor was something that I was also surprised went as far as what it did as well. I had always never really minded the character Allison, but in this season, it felt like they shook her up quite a lot. And I don't think it was necessarily the right thing to do. She became a relatively evil individual, and I wasn't really a huge fan of that. The CGI. The Umbrella Academy's visuals have always been impeccable, and I've not been able to fault it. However, there were a few moments in this season where it felt like it wasn't quite up to its usual standard. One moment in particular was when number 1 in the Sparrow Academy was on the roof, exercising and in front of his fans. The movement and the way that the whole scene looked just didn't look natural, and the visuals were quite jarring on the eye due to the fact that it looked extremely fake. I don't really expect that kind of quality when it comes to the Umbrella Academy, because ordinarily 9 times out of 10 it's spot on. But taking this moment into consideration, I think it could quite literally be the worst visuals in the show's history. Harlan. When Harlan was introduced in this season of the show, I thought it was a great twist and one that I didn't see coming, especially the fact we were drip-fed shots of Harlan throughout the first few episodes with no identity associated with him. When it was revealed that he was the person we'd been following, I didn't expect it, and I loved the fact that it connected Season 2 and Season 3 together in some way. The yearning to be powerless was something I really got from him, and it was an interesting motive for the character to have, especially considering the reason why. We found out that he was the one who was responsible for killing all of the Umbrella Academy's parents in the timeline, due to him being able to sense the presence of the unborn Umbrellas inside of the mothers. This served as a reason for Allison to kill Harlan, but that was pretty much it. There was no wider consequence or revelation when it was found out that Harlan was responsible for it. It felt like something that mattered in the first half of the season, finding out the identity of who the Umbrella Academy's mothers were. But by the middle of the season, it was almost forgotten about and it didn't really matter. I also wasn't a fan of Harlan being killed off that way. It supported the evil side to Allison's story that we were watching unfold, but I would have loved him to have kept his powers and for the group to have needed to try and defeat him, or still seen his journey and farewell to Victor, rather than him being killed when he was vulnerable. The Sparrow Academy. Prior to the season launching, there was an extremely heavy focus on the Sparrow Academy, and the rivalry that the Umbrella Academy would have with them. I was expecting them to be present throughout the entirety of the show, however they didn't feature heavily at all. Number 1 was taken out in the first episode, and then the rest of the Sparrow Academy, other than Ben and Luther's love interest Sloane, were all essentially wiped out prior to the middle of the season, showing that they were relatively weak and not a real match for the Umbrella Academy. Everything we saw in episode 1 of the show where they were battling felt a little bit redundant. It would have been good to have seen an epic face-off between them, but that never really happened due to the fact that Harlan wiped them out. It felt off that there was so much focus on them, all for them to not make it past the midway point, Hargreeves being an alien. Ever since season 2 of the show, we as the audience knew that there was more to Sir Reginald Hargreeves than met the eye, and that was that he was in fact an alien. We saw in season 3 of the show that the Umbrella Academy found out elements of his secret identity, but they didn't actually seem to be that shocked when they did, nor reference it with any great severity or surprise. I expected there to be more of a reaction. They found out that the person who raised them and trained them to be the people that they are today was in fact an alien and not a human, and it felt a little underwhelming to be honest, considering how much many of them either idolized Reginald or had a turbulent relationship with him. The revelation proved to change nothing in the grand scheme of things, so I found it a little odd. I did enjoy the Umbrella Academy season 3, and it was a good addition to the show. However, it felt as though it was the most distant to the core of what we've seen in season 1 and season 2. It still had the makeup of what we've come to expect, but in my opinion, I just don't think that this season landed as much as it wanted to and needed to. I'm hoping season 4 will align more with what we've seen in the past, where we see characters staying true to themselves, and there not being stories that we see building that don't end up arriving at the final destination. Or when they do reach that closing point, the arrival is just as exciting as anticipated. So, there you have it, why the Umbrella Academy Season 3 was the worst. If you want to see more videos like this, such as endings explained, theories and predictions, and character breakdowns, then click on the I button. Or alternatively, you can head over to my channel where you'll find them all. If you'd like to give me a show or movie to review, then head over to my Twitter @BrainPilot_, and tweet me what show or movie you'd like me to review next. And finally, if you'd like to see what I rate movies that don't quite make the cut to getting a dedicated video, then head over to my Letterboxd profile. It's where I rate the latest releases in real time. Do you think Season 3 was the worst we've seen so far? Leave a comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.